We're good.
Our chapter was chapter 4, verbal messages, and I didn't really think of any super clever thing to do with verbal messages, so I just picked memes because I thought they were funny and they illustrate my point in a creative and funny way. We're doing chapter 4.
Goals of chapter 4 are basically learn the nature and principles of verbal messages and to use verbal messages more effectively. And we gotta avoid like sexist and heterosexual, racist, or ageist kind of languages.
You can do it. You can do all these goals.
6 principles of verbal messages. Message meaning are in people. Messages are denotative and connotative. Messages vary in abstraction. Messages vary in politeness. Messages vary in assertiveness. Messages are influenced by culture and gender.
And I realized that connotative and denotative are large words, and I had to look them up myself. And what I came to is they're like homonyms, like claws, the claws, and horse, us horses. Funny homonyms I found for you all to enjoy. Messages are influenced by culture and gender. When you go into like the middle of an urban city, like the ghetto, you're gonna talk differently than you're at like a debutante ball in Texas. Your messages are influenced by the culture of where you're at, and if you're talking to a young lady, I wouldn't say, "Hey dude, what's going on?" That's kind of impolite and stupid. I would say, "Hi, you fine lady?" But that's how culture and gender influence us during our speeches. Yeah.
So for disconfirmation and confirmation. Like a disconfirmation is communication pattern which like one person ignores the other person's presence and communication. And confirmation is basically the opposite. So,
Okay, confirmation, you acknowledge the presence and contribution of others. You make nonverbal contact. You demonstrate understanding of words and feelings. You ask questions. You encourage the other person to express thoughts and feelings. So pretty much you're just into the speech and you're paying attention and you're communicating back and forth. This confirmation, you ignore the presence and indifferent to messages. You make no nonverbal contact, jump to interpret and evaluate messages. Talk about self, interrupt, make it hard for others' expressions. So pretty much you're just off doing your own little thing. Speech doesn't really matter to you.
Which no one does in here, because Mr. Gross has a gun. Not in here, though. Racist speech. Like I said, you don't want to call someone like black or a Jew or a white person. You just call them a person. You don't really have to worry too much about the race, or this kind of goes hand in hand with culture because you're going to talk differently to that person. You just don't want to, I don't know, insult their race while speaking to them. I wouldn't call Skylar a redskin. I would call her a beautiful person. That's really all there is. Okay, cool.
Alright, heterosexist speech. So derogatory language used against gays and lesbians, like, you're not gonna walk to somebody called fag. That's not nice. Alright, avoid offensive parodies and non-verbal mannerisms. And you avoid complimenting gay guys and lesbians that don't look like it. So don't walk up to Joel and be like, "Wow, you look so gay today," but it fits you. Alright, and you avoid assumptions from those individuals and stay clear of making steer clear of making attributions. Next.
Ageist and sexist speech. Prejudice against other age groups. General disrespect for older people. Age restrictions in certain occupations. You don't want to judge someone by how old they are, because there's really old people that are so immature and young people that are very immature for their age. You don't want to be sexist and judge people by if they're a guy or a girl, because it doesn't make no difference.
Again, cultural identifiers. You are just going to be different in different cultures. Like, I can be completely white on my grandma's side and rude.
Clocks, bells are off.
On my grandma's side and be German and have, like, I don't know, I talk differently on my grandma's side, and when I go to my grandfather's side, who's completely Mexican, I'm like salsa-ing and doing, it's flips when you're with different cultures.
Curriculums for using learning messages effectively. You need to avoid intentional orientation, avoid allness, distinguish between facts and interferences, avoid discrimination, avoid polarization, and avoid static evaluation.
Extensionalize, avoid intentional orientation, which is viewing people, objects, or events in the way that they are talked about or pre-labeled, pretty much stereotypes. Extensional orientation, look first at the actual people, objects, or events, and then apply labels. So don't judge people too much.
That makes sense on that slide. Allness, like all men are pigs, all women are stupid. You don't want to put everyone into those all categories. And I thought Transformers more than Meets the Eye, because Sean could be more than a typical man. I don't know. Like, we've seen him, he listens to music I would never have guessed. He does things that I would never think he would do, because there are more people than what you categorize them as, or with stereotypes.
Avoid indiscrimination. Indiscrimination is basically a failure to distinguish between similar people and different people. So you need to see the individual apart from the group, don't just see somebody as part of this particular group as an individual.
Avoid polarization, which is the tendency to see the world in opposite extremes. Not everything is one way or the other. It's not going to be super hot out, or it's not going to be extremely cold out. It's going to be, it's okay out today. Search for the middle ground.
And avoid static evaluation. Like in middle school, Katie could have been super, super shy, never talked to anyone, and Katie, I'm talking about her right there, and never talked to anyone and was completely different than she is now. And if you still think of Katie as super shy, you'll be somewhat right, but she's different now. So you have to judge from the now, not from what you previously learned. This is the end.
Little golf clap.
Thanks.